Hey everybody, we're back for another episode of the Journey Up, an Entrepreneur's Guide. I'm your host, Bryce, and this is my co-host, Brylan. We're super excited for our guest that we're going to have on today, Jeremy Taylor. He's got a really awesome business on two sides. He's got a real estate business as well as a fitness company. So we're super excited to have him on today and tell you guys a little bit more about his entrepreneurial journey. So thanks for being on the show today, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted to at least just get a quick little breakdown from you on your two different sides of what you do.
Yeah. So primarily from like a money making standpoint, it's real estate solely. Like I don't really have like a big as far as the business side of the gym. It operates on its own for the most part. We have a team of mostly part-time people, but I have one full-time guy that basically manages the place for me on a regular basis. I am there on a daily basis. For a couple hours, but mostly I utilize that as an office, so I just get touch points consistently from people walking in and out of the door. It started a lot more heavily with me being in there and actually operating the facility. Now it's like more of a just figurehead owner from the top. But then now, obviously, that I'm not in there so much, real estate has picked up quite a bit. So that's my my primary source of income. That's what I focus on the most. And that's really what's grown the most, comparatively speaking, to the gym. Gym is pretty status quo. And then real estate side has really picked up. But I attribute a lot of that just to my touch points with having that platform to stand on with the gym too. So it's been a nice mix of things to have.
So you are pretty much just doing the gym more for pleasure at that point?
Yeah, it's super hobby based. Like it's like when I opened it, I mean, I was 24, whenever I opened the gym, and like I had that going, and we just stepped away from, it was four of us that were on a real estate team with like lead flow and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Literally we did all at once. Like we stepped away from that, decided to become, agents on our own. We left, it was like really, I wanted to open that gym. Their setup was like more like it's a daily grind with them, which they have a great operation, and the way they do things is like the system is awesome. Wasn't the approach that I was looking for essentially. And that's simply it.
Yeah,
but that was your first year.
That was my first year, which I honestly like.
It's a great entry level.
Yes.
Like you get a ton of experience very quickly, and you get thrown to the fire, and you're doing a ton of transactions.
Yeah,
so,
the volume of transactions is there. I think that the one thing that I definitely stepping away from that, learning how to grow your business organically was not there. So it's like it was like this like lull period of like, oh crap, like I got to figure out how to do this on my own.
How do
now.
I source my own leads?
Right. Which blessed and lucky enough to have like good friends, close sphere. And then I think the gym really helped me in year one, like still accumulate a decent amount of sales. And then year two on my own, again, beat that out and do better. And then this past year 3 has been like the first full year, or the third full year on my own. And the first year I've really like blossomed, I feel like.
Yeah. Would you say that the gym helps bring leads in for you on the real estate side by building those relationships?
For sure. The first 2 years, especially, this whole 2023 has been like a lot of just like my own client base from real estate solely, referrals and repeat customers. So that's been like pretty eye-opening to me to like be like, oh, maybe I don't need the touch point of the gym quite as much anymore. I can kind of start to focus on other aspects of like marketing and getting myself out there, and maybe, creating other like community resources or touch points in that aspect. So
I'm interested though, because I think any guy that's ever like stepped foot in a gym, they always have that dream of wanting to start a gym.
Yeah.
So like, what was like step one? Because like I wouldn't even know where to start, but I mean that's obviously something that.
So when I first got out of college, I interned as a baseball coach at Flagler. So I played baseball at Flagler. I interned at Flagler as a baseball coach, and you make like literally $0 and 0 cents. So living was challenging. So I had to get another job. So I'd get up, and this is in college. This is right after college. So I'd get up at 4. I'd go work at the gym from 5 to 8 a.m. Then I'd go to the office, which I didn't do too much when I was an intern at Flagler for baseball, but still I was in the office from 9 to 12, and then we'd go get lunch, then we'd go to practice. So it's like going from 5 a.m.
Were you playing as well?
No, this is right after college, right after I got finished playing. But the day would start so early, and I always told myself in college I don't want a job where I have to wake up early. Yeah, and I literally got a job where I have to wake up before in the morning. So, but it did set me in a good it made the rest of my life easier, because like once I didn't have to do that every single day, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. And then I made crap for money when I worked at this. I did the internship with Flagler coaching baseball. I worked at this gym part-time, and then after a year of that, I decided I don't want to do the baseball thing anymore. It just doesn't make any money. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go full in on the gym. the way we had it set up, even with the gym, I made better money, but it wasn't really much.
And you weren't licensed at this point either.
No,
not yet.
What was the like first location, and like how did you kind of like bring that into fruition? Because I know it's kind of hard to just go right into having a space with the gym.
It is. Well, I tried to buy the first gym I worked at, and I knew nothing. I was like, I want to buy the gym. They're like, okay, here's how much it is, and I was like, sick. I'm gonna go get an SBA loan for it. And I just had like knowing nothing about business valuations. So I like did the whole process of acquiring an SBA loan, and then
it's tough.
Yeah, well, then there also has to be proof in the valuation of the business when it comes to acquiring an SBA loan, and what they're asking for, I could not get a loan on.
Yeah,
and with my credentials as who I was at that point in my life, I had nothing to like back that up to that liquidity to pay off the loan if something is to happen. So anyways, I didn't get the loan. They're like, never mind, carry on business as usual. I was like, oh, that's kind of bogus. I was like, I'm out. I quit. And that's when I got my real estate license.
Okay.
And shortly after they sold the gym to somebody else, I went back and worked there a little bit. Once real estate really started picking up, then I was like, okay, I don't need the gym anymore. Made enough money for a couple years, and I was like, I'm gonna open a gym.
Is
again.
that what you really like wanted to do when you grew up, or what was your? What was your like first thing that was like, okay, I really want to do this?
I think initially, it was the excitement of owning a gym was like sick, just like you said. Like every man that like steps into a gym that like, dude, I want to own this. This looks so cool, but it's not as cool as you think. It's definitely not as exciting as you think.
Yeah, it's a business at the end of the day.
It is a business, and it's just like real estate. It's emotion management.
Yeah.
Always emotion management with people. And I will say both of those, like they definitely have the ability to wear down on you quite a bit. So you have to compartmentalize a lot, especially when both your businesses are like customer facing constantly and a lot of expectations from people. So it was just, I just was like, I have the ability to, I have the money, I have liquidity to go buy the stuff outright and get a space. It'll cover its debt pretty easily. I had a good name from when I had the last gym. So a lot of people carried right over. So we had a decent base of members right away to cover debts.
Got it.
From your previous gym. Okay.
So that we had a lot of people come because it's a group fitness, like a higher ticket,
What pushed you into getting the license to begin with?
My buddy Dustin had his license, and he told me, I remember the first time he told me like, he's like, I want to make this much off a check of, the closing. It was like $13,000. And at that point I was like, that's over a third of my income in one check. And I was like, I have to do something like this or something other than what I was doing. So, that's what step like pushed me into it. And I was horrible at first. I don't know how you guys felt about yourself when you first started.
How old were you when you first started? What was year one?
23.
Okay, that's about the time I was too.
Yeah. So, which I was horrible when I first started, just not knowing what I didn't know.
I started at 18.
It's terrifying, dude.
It's scary.
Is your family involved in real estate then?
No. My dad did real estate, like the investment side in the 90s up until like 2008. But after 2008, he actually went to the police academy when everything crashed and did like law enforcement and
like counterterrorism.
He got his master's degree in counterterrorism and had a gun range and did all.
He's just a very tactical dude.
Yeah, he's a tactical dude. He's a weapon. So I don't know. I actually, whenever I went to UNF my freshman year before I transferred to FSU, I remember going in my freshman year and I was like, I'm going to study finance. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why, but I want to own my own commercial real estate brokerage one day. That was the first thing that I thought of and just immediately went for it. And there was a guy, I'm not sure if you know him. He's from Amelia Island, John Holbrook. Do you know John Holbrook? He was the office manager of Berkshire Hathaway on the south end of the island. And I was just I was working on my license, didn't have it yet, and he was just paying me cash to like work different assistant stuff around the office and learn the business. Yeah. And then he ended up branching off and starting the Piney Woods office in Fernandina. And I worked under him for about a year or so while I was in college. So that was kind of my first entry level into the business. And he had me doing like, actually kind of similar to this, he had me going around to different like businesses local in Fernandina and interviewing like local business owners and recording everything and putting it on his page. That's cool. So that was actually like my entry level into it. Yeah.
If I could like go back in time, I'd get my license as soon as I graduated high school.
Dude, that's exactly what I said. I was like, as soon as
I could go back in time and do that.
Yeah, whenever you're 18, like that probably would have freed up like 3 years of just like, whatever else I was
all
doing.
the other like BS that they try to teach you, and you're like, I don't even need this.
Yeah.
Like,
Which I mean, like it's school, which I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I think it's important to
very important
have that time in your life.
Yeah, and you can act like a jackass. Hopefully, I can say that on
Yeah,
this.
you can say that.
So you can act like it for a few years and like enjoy your time, and like again, it doesn't hurt to know all those people either down the road.
For
so,
sure.
Yeah. So you got not to cut you off, but you got licensed. You were 23, and then did you like go anywhere else? Your first year, you were with.
You just went right to them. How'd you hear about them?
Dustin, it was my buddy.
Okay, he was working there.
So we like, I feel like I was with them kind of at the tail end of when they were like super small, which was so fun because it was like a tight knit group. We were crazy. It was so like, and I don't mean that in the sense of like we kind of felt like Wolf of Wall Street to some extent because we just got after it every day and we were super competitive.
Just banging out the phones.
It was really fun. It was a good environment, and then so at some point you get a little bit exhausted from that too. And so and I don't do that at this point by any means, but again, a really good first experience to get into it and get the training. Then they obviously blew up. Again, their approach is very solid.
It is solid, and I will say even because a little backstory, Jeremy's brother is actually married to my sister, so that's how we know each other. But you actually kind of played a little bit of a role in why I wanted to get licensed because I remember I was probably 19 or 20 and friends on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and there was one time I think I saw you had like 15 pending in a month or something like that. There's a lot going on. Yeah, and I was like, dang, dude.
15 pending in a month?
Yeah.
That's huge.
He was like in like the teenage pending. Yeah.
That's
and I was
crazy.
like, damn, that's cool.
Which is super fun.
Yeah.
And now when you get to that point, it's like, which with them, it was kind of cool because a lot of that was handed off to a transaction coordinator, which is the way they taught.
Yeah.
Which is not the way I do it now, unfortunately. But
so you're kind of hands off once you get it under contract.
That's how it was with them. I didn't really like that because I'm and it's not a good thing. I'm a micromanager, so it's like I just want to be hands on the deal. Plus, personally, I think just for creating referral business, like if you hand off to some random person, then like if you're not negotiating the biggest parts of the deal inside of it, then you're not gonna have them a year down the road and they go to sell. Not gonna love you, and so it's not. I'm just not into the turn and burn mentality. I'd much rather have just do good to people, and that's how you create more business.
I agree.
Especially if you're like a lot of people don't realize the tail end of the transaction whenever you're trying to close it is the hardest because there's so many things that can happen out of nowhere. So if you're, like you said, on the front lines fighting for them and negotiating, different parts of the deal to make sure it hits closing, whether it's probate or whatever the issue is.
You're a superhero.
You're a superhero. Yeah. They look at you as the person that not only affected the deal, but saved the deal and made it happen. So, they're not
like spending that time with them up front too is going to make them more trustworthy of you in the back end. So if you're like, I'm not trying to screw you over, I'm telling you this is like a good move. Then there's more trust in that too. Whereas if you just hand them off, then like you come into the back end, like, no, close on the home. Like you got to buy it.
Right.
Screw up. No, I'm not doing it. So they're gonna think you're trying to screw them over. So anyways.
Do you remember your first deal, like your first house you sold?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Walk us through it.
It was a mess. It was a so it was actually a foreclosure situation. It was a young couple that their dad, gosh, where was he? He was over in he was literally on the other side of the world. He was purchasing the home for them.
Okay.
And so I had to speak to him at the most odd hours of the night because he was in a completely different time zone.
Oh, God.
I was buying it for the kids. It was a foreclosure situation. I've never done a deal before in my life, so I didn't even know what I was doing in the first place. It was not a standard contract.
Let alone that type of transaction.
So nothing was normal. It was a cash transaction. The guy was wiring funds from literally a different continent. So it was just, the whole thing was a mess. It got drug out super long. But that was my first deal, and that was like, I started in March or April of 2019, and then I think I closed my first deal like it was in June. So like I was just literally like living off of peanut butter and jellies.
Was that was
March
the one you
to
closed?
June isn't that bad though. I mean,
No,
I know
not
a
for
lot of
first
people
time.
that don't close anything for at least the first like 6 months or more.
It was not that bad, but I was like so broke at the time. I was like, oh my God.
But did you close that one with the oh wow.
It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. I had a couple of messes in between that too while that deal was working that did not close. So there was definitely like a bunch of errors that, again, looking back, I wish I would have had just been somebody's apprentice for like 6 months sometimes and just like work to learn instead of earn for a second, because I definitely screwed up.
Did they have like a lot of training systems that you were going through to help you learn along the way, or is it just kind of here's the fire, jump in?
It was simultaneous. There was definitely training involved, but it was very much you're getting thrown into the fire, ask questions later, which definitely made me learn fast.
For
Like
sure.
I definitely would not have put that pressure on myself.
Yeah. That's good.
But
though.
I don't think I screwed any customers over by any means. However, I just think like I could have handled things better to maybe like save a few deals.
I agree.
You know, like that's just like because you end up not thinking. There's so many ways, like just like you said, if you get into the middle or tail end of a contract where you can maybe manipulate, portions of the financing or just like extend things out instead of just like giving up on deals. Then I just would do that a lot because I didn't know.
Yeah,
there were options.
There were like I agree with that because I vividly remember like 2 of them like my first few months, and it was because I couldn't really even like effectively like communicate what was going on during the inspection period. Like I didn't understand like the value on like how to fix things and stuff like that. So like it was
like what's a big deal?
What's a big deal? What's not? So and that can play like a huge role in that. Sure. So I agree.
And like prepping people for that too. Like you start to get really good, I think, as you get through this business further, if you're learning from every transaction at prepping people for what may come. Right. Not that you're trying to freak them out. And it's like, it's how your delivery of it is too. So like even in a listing appointment, like I try to spend as much time in a house with somebody as I can initially. Like I had one yesterday, it was like an hour and a half, and it was they still had someone to interview today, so I'll wait for the call back to see. I'll follow up with them after this. But like try to spend as much time as you can talking through literally what the transaction will look like from contract to close, like once you go through your marketing and stuff like that, because then if they have any questions, or if we hit one of those times where an appraisal comes in low or an inspection comes back bad, like we know the possibilities of how we're going to approach that. So we're just trying to prep people for it, and then they're not so blindsided by issues to where people get so overwhelmed so fast in the moment. Yeah. So you got to like take a step back. So
it's emotional.
If you can give them at least one step into the fire initially, so they don't feel like they're getting burned so hard when it does happen. I think it's a big deal.
It's like covering your bases. So it's like, whenever it does happen, you can always revert back to, this is what I mentioned earlier, and it's like one of those things.
Huge deal.
And then they look at it as like, okay, this guy's experienced.
For sure. And like, if you're going to, it's their house ultimately. So if you're talking like listings and the collaboration on pricing, if you can say, hey, here's the numbers that we have, I'm willing to adjust to try higher if you guys want to, but always have this piece of paper in writing that like, if you revert back to, I said we should be at this price. So, what I mean? When you come back to people. So
especially if they want to list a little bit higher than you originally told them, and then they come back with an offer when you're on the market, and it's like exactly where you told them it was going to be.
Literally.
Like, sorry, I told you so.
All the time. All the time. Which we know that goes, but it's just like prepping people for it.
So where do you think like your go-getter mentality came from? Obviously, you've been in real estate for the last few years. You're killing it. You got your gym down in St. Augustine. I guess what kind of like what makes you stand out, you think?
I think as far as like the mentality, was definitely stems from childhood, because my dad was always just so adamant about being the standout in the positive of like, I remember this all the time. Like if there's a baseball in the field, go get it. Yeah. So if like kids, if they're after their batting practice, there'd be like balls in the outfield in the warning track. And he'd always yell at my brother and I to go get it. So that was just like,
your dad was a coach growing up.
That replays in my head constantly. Just go pick up the baseball. It's not that hard. It's not that big of a deal. It's one extra minute of work. So that always replays in my head. But I think what makes me stand out in that aspect is just, availability can die at some point too, so I don't want to wear out the fact that I'm widely available for you. I'm ready to work hard. I really think the standout difference is going to be just doing good by people and having their best interests. And even though we're transaction brokers, I'm sure you guys work in the same capacity. Of course, but working to do the best you can for them, and ultimately finding out what their goals are, and like truly working for them. And now obviously we don't have like a fiduciary duty to them. We're going to have both sides of the deal sometimes. We're just being honest to both sides. Of course. And ultimately if they're trying to sell their house and they're trying to buy the house, we're trying to work our best I can to make that happen for them. So,
of course.
But I think that's literally, obviously the hard work just comes from simply, if something needs to be done, just do it. I think that's where a lot of people fall into the trap of, especially in our business, where there's no one actually breathing down your neck. It's your responsibility to do the items you need to do in a timely manner. So if there's something that needs to get done, just accomplish it. Take care of it. Get it done.
I've said that a lot. I always say, like, if something needs to get done the first time, just go ahead and do it yourself.
Take the minute. We are inherently lazy as our industry for the most part, and I say that with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of people that work really hard in this business, but
there's a lot of people that don't, though.
And there's a lot of people that don't, which I'm almost excited for the NAR lawsuit, and that's going to knock out half of our industry. So
you saw that?
The good one. Oh yeah. Big into that now, but the probably knock out half the people who don't do hard work, because if the buyer's agency side becomes more challenging, that knocks out a lot of people. So it's going to take people that are actually like trying to do their business effectively.
For sure.
So
just doing it, what would you say then? Obviously, not like your mentality and stuff, but what are like your non-negotiables? Like, what do you do? Like, what's like your Monday through Friday? Like, what do you
do you plan out your week? I feel like that's something that I do a lot. Like I'll usually get in the morning and I'll pull out, my notepad or my notes or whatever, and I'll literally plan out everything that I have to do and kind of just do it based off a list.
I'm kind of I definitely have to work off a calendar. I'm definitely, because there's just always something. And I always have to, as soon as if someone has a request or something that I have to do, I definitely put it in my calendar right away. I am a little bit on the fly just because of really the gym business. I may have to be available for it at some points. But I do have the same routine for the most part. If I'm not working at the gym, I work out early in the morning, I get it out of the way, and then the rest of my day is available. I'm normally just doing, the first thing I do in the morning is contract follow-up, making sure if anyone needs anything before I go out in the field. And I know I kind of got this from, if there's anything I need to do in office, I try to get it done early in the morning. So
before 11.
I have my morning or my afternoon available for appointments for the most part. That doesn't mean I don't take appointments in the morning, because I definitely do that still.
Of course.
But I try to knock out as much as I can in the morning, leave myself as available as I can in the afternoon. And especially with both businesses running at the same time, like I try to keep my phone, like I don't coach classes in the afternoon at the gym ever after 9 a.m. Do not touch it, because
So what time are you coaching classes?
Like 5 to 8 a.m. if I do that. And I do that 2 to 3 days a week, but which does suck sometimes because I'm so tired. But however, it's like, people want to see my face because I'm obviously the owner. And also it's not that big of a deal for me to be there for a few hours. And again, it's touch points for people. I get to just talk with them about what I want to make money off of, which is the real estate side of things. So
would you say that's when most people show up anyways?
Yeah. I mean, it's either 5 to 8 a.m. or, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Like there's 2 blocks, which I'm never there that late anymore. Thank God.
So you do like evening classes? Like
we have
work?
8 classes throughout the day, and one at 9 a.m. and one at noon. That's the middle of the day classes. Otherwise it's outside of business hours. So those are the busiest times, but I'm never, this whole year I've barely been in the office outside of, really afternoon. Most of the time I'm home or at appointments at that point, doing whatever. So, but I don't really have, to go back to your question, I don't really have something to where I like set out, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'd probably be more effective if I did, honestly. And this is on why, and this will be released by the time this happens. Like I'm selling a majority of ownership in my gym. I'll still have ownership. And this will be released later, so I don't really care about saying that. It's closing very soon. And what I'm essentially trying to accomplish is to peel back on that next to completely and hyper focus on what I'm doing with the real estate side, because I've had just such split attention.
I understand.
So I'm giving, as best I can to real estate, but sometimes I got to designate some time. So I'm trying to get somebody who can really run.
So
run
although
the gym
you're
and double down in real estate.
Like as a portion owner still, I know you said you're selling majority. Are you still going to be involved at all, like on management side of it?
I will be, but like final decision making will not be me anymore, which is stellar, because that's really the biggest headache is the content. And I am a worrywart, and this is probably, I think, what makes me successful, but also possibly holds me back. It's just like I want to do so good all the time, and I'm worried constantly about the product that's going on. So it's like it's a constant like low level stress for me to have that, and where it's like if something's not going right at the gym, or if someone has an issue, like they're obviously going to come to me. And so like getting that to be like, hey, that's not my chair anymore, like go talk to the new guy that's like making the decision and go to him. So it takes the stress off my plate, which is going to be a big deal. A lot of this business is bandwidth, and like new businesses, like how much bandwidth can you like take?
How much can you really sustain?
So and it's a lot, especially when you got a bunch of deals going on. You're like, it becomes overwhelming. So
for sure,
especially for us, because we have deals and projects and investments.
Right, it's a lot going on. Hands in all the
5 million things.
So for someone like y'all, like too, just to which. This is where I guess I do compartmentalize this stuff. We're trying to like, as best I can, I like work on just gym stuff for an hour and then just work on. So I'm just like not mixing all of them,
Yeah, and something we do too sometimes, like if we're working or if it's like been like a long week or a long day, like we'll get home or whatever we're doing later that night, and we're like, I'm not even gonna talk about real estate. Don't even bring it up.
I actually don't.
I'm like, don't even
after 6 p.m. on the weeknights and then on the weekends. For the most part, like sometimes if I have to take a weekend appointment, I'll take a weekend appointment. But for the most part, I'm like, just don't even mention it.
You do have to really, and I'm glad you guys just said that, because sometimes in especially our age group, there's this like grind culture.
Yes.
That it's just like work. you're going to get burnt out.
You have to enjoy yourself.
You're going to get burnt out. So, and I've definitely experienced it in the past. Like this year was crazy the first half of the year, and then I had to learn how to
time for yourself.
Step back a little bit. Because the first half of the year was literally, I don't think I took a day off literally until May. It was so much.
Yeah.
So then it gets to the point where you're just I'm so fatigued I can't even. I need to take 3 weeks
off.
off.
And money is a tool. You know, what's the point of making money if you're not going to use it as a tool to enjoy your life?
Exactly.
I mean, you have to have some vacation time, and you have to be able to step away, especially as a real estate agent, and put on your voicemail or your email. I'm away for the office for such and such dates. If you need something, call this person.
Yeah, you do have to have someone else set up for you just in case, for sure.
But I was gonna say something. I lost my train of thought.
That's it. Well, I was gonna say
it'll come back.
Well, the getting yourself. I'm so happy you guys said that, because there's a lot with the grind culture is, and so many people I feel in our industry, especially when they get onto a team where you're doing constant turnover, lead flow and stuff like that. It's you just get so burnt out so quickly, because it's just you're turning and burning. It never stops, and it's exciting in the moment. But I say this in the gym industry all the time, there's motivation only lasts so long. So it's what are you going to do to get through the minutia and the monotony of just the day to day? So you got to have that time.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was going to say. Actually, I was going to agree on that, because I hate it whenever you're doing something, or you're out in public, or it's after hours or something, and someone's just sitting there in your ear about how much they work and how much money they make and all these things. And it's dude, just relax.
Give
we
it
get
a break.
it. Give it a break. Yeah.
We were just on a trip, and as all new people that I haven't met before, and it's this one guy came into the group, was an engineer, and that's literally the first and the last thing of every sentence is how successful he is, how much money he makes. I'm I can't
say it once and then go on. Yeah,
I need to go away.
Yeah.
So can't.
Honestly, I don't think you should really mention it unless somebody asks.
Right. Yeah.
If somebody asks, sure. Here's what I'm doing, and here's what I do.
Yeah.
And if they don't ask, just
stay away
be yourself.
We have a tough time in this industry with flaunting and
yeah.
Which I get it. There's a part of it you have to be a little bit extroverted and out, and you got to be top of mind for people. But
the whole
flaunting, how much GCI did this month. It was sick, amazing guys. That's so cool. So it's tough.
What is out of all that, who would you say would be your mentor in real estate? Do you have one that you kind of look up to?
Maybe not your mentor in real estate, but maybe
just in
life, a role model that you've actually just looked up to your whole life, whether it's in real estate or not.
There's a few. I definitely had a lot of big players that have just helped me, or just taught me how to treat people in a work environment. So there's leaders down in St. Augustine that I've really looked to. Steve Pappas really helped me a lot.
Steve Pappas?
Yeah, which he's in the medical field, so a completely different field. However, he was just when I was much younger, he would just sit down with me and go over it. When I first tried to buy that first gym, he taught me everything about business valuation and basically getting the SBA loan. So he helped me with all that. But lots of other players. And then as far as real estate goes, I don't know if you guys ever watched the LaMacchia trainings, Anthony LaMacchia. He's up in New York. He's dipping into Miami now, but he was my main training source, and I just got to meet. So I went down and spoke. Fidelity hosted a Fidelity National Title hosted a basically just NAR lawsuit speaking event. So they had a panel of, it was 4 of us, and then they had an attorney that they brought in, Shane Bronson, who's Anthony's right hand man and runs Florida for his brokerage. He was there, and I got to meet him, so that was super cool, because I'd watched these guys when I just started in real estate, so I was kind of a little bit starstruck.
Was that a subscription that
it's this monthly, not monthly. It's you buy the trainings, and it's awesome. My listing appointment to this day is the exact same from what I learned from Anthony. When I very first started. I have my own little flavor to it, but the timeline of how I go through it is exactly how we started.
You gotta send me that then.
He's great. He's definitely, I would suggest, especially for new agents, if you guys if you don't want to deal with the training aspect.
We definitely have had a few green agents come on within the last year, and it's
tough.
It's tough it's a pain in the ass to try and talk about everything, because people don't realize that real estate is such a wide array of knowledge. And that's why people can be niche focused on so many different sides of it. But whenever you're first starting out, and like you said, you don't know what you don't know, you're coming in, it's just you're just scratching the surface of a full ocean. And it's hard to also, like you said, find the time to sit down and relay all of that information whenever you're trying to manage your transactions, work on new marketing streams, worry about, because like you said earlier, I'm also at worry war as a business owner. Like if we're in a lull and I'm like, oh man, we should be doing something.
Right.
Like
What's
something
going
needs
on?
to be going on right now.
Panic.
You get like little panic mode, and then it all comes back at once. It's like fits and starts, so it's hard to have that time set aside to train somebody, but it's part of the process. You have to do it.
Which he's awesome. I would definitely crushitinrealestate.com is I think what they're
crushitinrealestate.com.
Crush It in Real Estate. It's Anthony. He's the man. He's got a little, like northeastern accent, like he's fun to listen to. But they're super caring. If you want to look into it even further, they're super caring of like the agents. They just want to see agents succeed. It's not like they're not like I mean, Tom Ferry's great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like he's very like he is trying to make money off selling his sessions.
For sure.
For
sure.
Which everything's a business, but I don't know. I was a huge fan of La Macchia, so I'll plug them anytime.
Yeah, I want to look them up and see some of their stuff.
Yeah.
What about anyone you look up to in the fitness industry?
So as much as I don't love like Alex Ramosi, the gym.
Sorry, but
I'm friends with their CEO for Gym Lord. Like he's who I worked for.
No way.
Yeah. So I'm tied into them from afar. Like Kale.
Do you watch his wife's stuff too?
No, I do not. I actually, who's his wife?
Layla Hermosi.
Okay, because I know the only reason I know Alex is they're so intelligent. I don't love because again, if the gym was actually my business, I would absolutely utilize their marketing approach because it freaking works. But I just don't care to make that much, or I don't care to make money off the gym, and I don't want to spend the time that. Because they do such a good job of teaching gym owners, which is typically a very like I like to work out. I'm going to own a gym. Like they don't really know the business side. They teach gym owners how to run a business, and it's really impressive, really really impressive. But it takes a lot of work, and I just don't have the time to do the work.
I like how Alex Hermosi is like he's just so like he doesn't really like sugarcoat anything. He's just kind of like if you see some of his videos on Instagram, kind of just straight to the point.
He is.
He's just like so like whatever about it. But he seems like such a cool dude.
So is Rich Piana. If you ever watched him,
which they know how to make money. Like obviously it's proven. But like the guy that I worked for, Cale Owen, is the CEO of Gym Launch or Gym Lords, whatever their parent company is. Now because Alex sold a majority. So, but Kale lives right in St. Augustine. So they're in Maggie's. His wife is high into that company now as well. But cool. So I learned a lot from them too. And they're really willing to give me advice if I ask for it.
For sure.
And I've sold some of their properties for them too. We definitely had like a stale relationship after when I tried to buy the gym, and I was like a little bit is honestly probably more me than them. I was just more upset that I wasn't able to do it.
Wait, were you trying to buy the gym from them?
From them.
Oh, okay.
So we definitely had probably for a little bit of a stale relationship just because that didn't work out. They moved. Once they moved back, it was fine. But like we're all
I get
kosher
it
now. But so that's that. They're super intelligent. So that would probably be the people that I look up to for like the business side of it. But as far as the like just who I learned from with fitness is like Sal DiStefano, Justin Schaefer, Adam Schaefer, Justin Andrews, and those guys are in Mind Pump, which is they're out of California.
Right.
Super intelligent. But they're like not about like the whole like let's just blow up with the marketing. They want to do fitness right. So between the business of Alex Hermosi and then the Mind Pump guys is like who I combined. I
don't know who those Mind Pump guys are, but I would assume those kind of like tailored towards like the style of lifting that you like. So would you be more like calisthenic or what? Not calisthenic. What's like because you're more like
it's functional strength training. Technically is what I call it. So it's but people look at us because we're in a warehouse. It'll look like CrossFit, but it's
not CrossFit.
Yeah. Not the slightest CrossFit. We'll reach like intensities, but it's really how I personally enjoy to train and how personal trainers should be training. Which is like trying to build lean tissue and create an actual like sustainable metabolism. We're not trying to crash diet people. We're not trying to run them out of the door and just make them sweat. We're trying to teach them like the proper way to do it for a long time. So there's a lot of like, just, it's not very exciting. Like that's a challenge that I face every day with my gym is like, because we have Orange Theory F45 burn boot camp, which looks so exciting because there's like colors and sounds and fast movement, and we're all like ADD. So no one can sit still. So it's like
social media. Yeah.
So it's like whereas you come to my gym and it's like we're going to do 4 sets of this. You're going to rest for 2 minutes in between.
Yeah.
And we're going to hang out and talk for 2 minutes because your energy system that you need to allow to recover is not going to actually recover if you just keep working. So we have very good reason behind everything that we do. It's just not sexy the way we do things.
Yeah.
But if people stick to it, they kill it. They do
see
so,
really good results.
Oh my God. And they stick to it and they don't. There's another thing, can't eat like an asshole. So you got to make sure you're actually upholding some sort of like diet to some extent, which we coach people through that. I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't technically give, like here's a specific diet. I can definitely give recommendations, which is about all you really need, as long as you can create a general outline for people. But as long as they don't eat like crap and they just maintain consistency with our facility, it's like they see great results. And that's like something that I battle all the time with people, which is, again, like eats into my bandwidth a little bit with real estate.
Right.
So, anyways, those mind guys are awesome.
Have you always been like into fitness and stuff, or what kind of like? Because I guess for me, what kind of got me into fitness was I used to wear my shirt in the pool. So I was always like that insecure
I was
kid.
a pretty
chubby
kid.
So then I remember I shot up. I shot up in like middle school, and then after that I was like, I'm gonna get in shape. And then,
I didn't really like start on my fitness journey until probably like junior year of high school, when I really like looked in the mirror and I was like,
I need to take this seriously.
This is not the way.
See, I think I was after that. Like I didn't really. I feel like it all is born out of like just aesthetics, because everyone just is insecure. So, which I mean, I am too. Obviously.
Yeah, we all are,
and I think all of us have some sort of body dysmorphia to some extent.
Of course. Yeah.
But I was definitely chubby when I was in high school, and like my dad's so funny. He'd always be like, "What's your ideal weight?" And I'd be like, I don't know, Bruce. Like, I don't even know. I was like, I don't know what my ideal weight is, but he was trying to tell me I was fat, which I should have listened to him.
You're like trying to figure out how to answer that. You're like,
I don't know.
How to tell you to go to the gym without being an asshole.
Literally, I'd be like, I don't know, Dad. But so he'd always ask me that, which is
funny.
It's hilarious looking back at it, but in the moment, I was like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's right after high school, when I first got to junior college and was playing baseball. I was a shortstop in high school, and then when I got to junior college, everyone was like, obviously you step up when you get to school, get to college playing level, and so I remember the first day it was like hell week essentially, and we were sprinting the track. It was a mile for time, and I was like back with the catchers and the third baseman, and like all the middle infielders are way up because most of them are super athletic, and I was not. So I remember my coach screaming at me. He's like, "Why do I have a shortstop with the catchers?" And I'm like, "I'm fat." And so I lost like 20 pounds my freshman year of college. I got super thin, and then I finally figured out like I don't want to be super scrawny either. And like when I was going to find other schools, like
you got to find the middle balance.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden I didn't hit for any power at all, and it was like I had no mass, and now no school wants a first or third baseman who doesn't hit for power. So I'm like, shit, I got to get strong really quick. So that's what like bumped me back up into fitness, and then I just got like addicted to it. I mean, that's how people get into it, and they like
it does get addicting. What
I wanted to ask you, because you were talking before about like some of your influencers and stuff that you look up to in the fitness industry. What do you think about some of the other influencers that are in the fitness industry right now? Because it seems like a lot of people on TikTok, Instagram, social media that are blowing up in the fitness industry are all on steroids, and they're all lying about it.
Lots of that,
or they're just open about it. They're like, "Yeah, I'm shooting this and that."
Which I mean, as long as they're honest about it, then great. I don't obviously, because it's pretty apparent, especially when you work in the field, unless someone has like absolutely insane genetics, which like we all have to understand how rare that is. You can tell when somebody is taking some sort of pro hormone or something along those lines, some PED,
some sort of PED.
So like it's pretty obvious. So like just if you're lying about it, then get over it. Which there's a fine line now, because peptides are big. And like, is that a PED? I mean, technically, but it's legal at this point. They're all research chemicals.
Wait,
so
what's a peptide?
Peptide, they're just amino acid profiles that are put together, and they're like, so like the biggest one right now that I'm aware of, the BPC 157, which is like this like muscle recovery peptide that it's
interesting,
huge. And there's only certain companies that are actually like third party tested, and then there's a bunch of research chemicals. You can buy it all online, and it could be effective, or it could be just a bunch of metals in a pill. So it's like, you don't
really know what you're getting.
There's like a gray area, but as far as the influencer goes, it bugs the hell out of me. I went to when I was up in Greenville this past weekend. I went to a Crunch because that was like the closest gym to where I was staying, and like there's a bunch of girls like with their cameras set up.
Yep.
And I'm definitely in their video, and this one's getting annoyed with me because I keep walking behind her in her video, and I'm like, I'm just trying to work out too. Which like in my gym we have no mirrors, so it's just like go in there and do your thing. The coach is supposed to watch you anyways, but the gym influencer thing bugs me. I'm very much on the, which again, is probably not great for business. I know it's not great for business because we're not like crazy about like getting in front of people, but the influencer thing, I'm like on the other end of the spectrum of that. It kills me in the gym space because it's just so like narcissistic in nature. Like it's crazy narcissistic. So anyways, try to stick away from that.
So now that you're kind of transitioning away from the gym business, you're gonna sell a major portion, and that is not gonna be the forefront of your focus. What are some of the lead streams and things that you're working on? Because I know you said you're not doing the turn and burn strategy, and you also don't seem to be somebody that's going towards the kind of the influencer type of thing. So where's your business coming from, and then what strategies are you using to continually try and grow your capabilities in real estate?
I think I was like just blessed enough and lucky enough this year to like see a huge repeat business. And like where I thought this year would slow down a lot, it got like double my volume this year, which has been really cool.
That's awesome.
And I'm like
especially
super
in a down year.
and like not a great year. So for a lot of agents are like, it's super slow. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like it's crazy for me this year, but just, I think that is just a lot of me actually like trying to do my job as good as I can up front and being good to people that's causing that. Now I think as far as like how much I can do per year, that's probably it. If I'm just thinking forward, there's no way I can do more repeat business than I did this year. So I've got to find some other avenue. So I'm big in the community outreach and just trying to be touch points with people and being involved in the community in that aspect. Obviously picking an area to farm is going to be a big deal. Listings are going to be the name of the game moving forward, as they always have been, but even now, more importantly, because of the NAR lawsuit, even though nothing's actually going to go into effect as far as a law anytime soon. That we are a internet-based society and access to information is readily available. So it's like sellers are going to see that people don't want to pay buyers agents anymore.
Right.
Our listing appointments are going to get a whole hell of a lot different now. Just like yesterday, I was talking to them about commissions, and I'm telling them we are offering somebody at a minimum 2.5% because we want to incentivize somebody to come in here. And I'm like, and I will not take a listing unless we're okay with doing that. And I'm not cutting my commission either. So it's like, so unless we're doing this or not, so
got to be at least 5.
And we have to respect ourselves as agents to, in my opinion, like for anyone that's going into a listing appointment, I get it if you're new and you're just trying to acquire the business. I want you to take the hit, not someone else. Like, and that's just in my opinion. Like if you're trying to acquire business, cut yourself down a little bit. Don't cut your partners or your co-ops down.
Yeah,
I agree.
Respect the industry, because otherwise we're gonna screw ourselves over. It's a
and you're gonna keep setting the bar a little bit lower each time that happens.
We've already done it. We had 3 weeks ago. We had a condo with one of our guys on our team. We were putting an offer on, and the co-op was $1. And the guy was like, because he was like, oh, I saw the lawsuit, and he's like, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. So in the guy that's a listing agent and the guy that does no deals he does like 3 deals a year. So he's like, sure, I'll take my half. I'll pay out $1 to somebody else. No one's going to sell that.
Yeah, it's messed up.
So, that's unethical for me to say. And I fully understand that. I'm saying that like on camera, that's unethical, but that's just the nature of it. No one wants to work for free. So there's going to be
$1.
No, and no one wants to work for that. So it's like, we're going to have to work into, at some point we're going to have to either, tell our buyers, hey, I need this commission up front. I can work for you for 60 days for this amount.
Yep.
Or we can just say, understand that I'm going to be working this in as a seller credit. So it'll be a closing cost credit towards you, but for me, essentially for me to work for you. Like there's going to be weird ways that we're going to have to do it. But anyways, just to go back on that is that
like, how are you strategizing your listings?
Well, for me, just acquiring listings is obviously one, doing good for people. I still am just trying. I think the biggest thing for me is getting out in front of people in the community. Yeah. Because I do like that.
Do you host networking events or anything
not so much
like that?
Networking events, but between the gym, I do a run club. I try to just be out and about as much as I can.
Tell me about the run club. What's going on there?
I kind of did it off of Neptune Run Club because they're
huge. They are huge.
Beach, which we haven't gotten to that, but we'll have like 50 people come out on a Saturday morning, and it's just like I just put like sponsored by Taylor Training Systems. I got shirts for everybody, and then we'll just meet up and run. But like I just get to like, and this is so stupid, but just for like new agents, like put yourself, if you want to just like say like put a little like plug in without like making yourself sound like a narcissist. Like at the end of the run, be like, who wants to come to an open house? Like, cause I'm about to go sit at an open house and be like, I have an open house. If anyone wants to come see me. And like people just remember like he's the real estate guy. So it's like just little touch points like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, that's a good way to do it because you're almost doing it subliminally. You're not really like in their face, like, hey, are you looking for a home? I'll help you buy a home right now. It's more like, hey, I'm your friend. I do normal
this run
things
club with
day
you.
to day
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah,
But if
for
you
sure.
ever happen to need something, I'm your guy.
For sure.
So
One other thing that I think is really big is, which is challenge. I mean, I'm definitely active on social, which helps it for our age group.
Yeah.
But as far as acquiring, and especially if you want to work up in price point, so this is what I'm starting to learn a little bit. My price point has gone up quite a bit. Is a lot of that is birthed from other agents that are referring you. So, like making yourself known in other states, other areas, or other countries, even. Like Sotheby's is a great company that does, and I don't work for Sotheby's, obviously, but just understanding how they do business in their internal referral network, it's incredible.
Right.
It is absolutely incredible. Their agent-to-agent referrals in there. So, and a lot of that is, and they do a great job in selling luxury homes because one luxury agent will send it to another luxury agent in the other area. So getting to know, like if you're doing traveling a lot, like if we're talking about like going on these vacations, like stop by a real estate office while you're there, go drop cards and talk to people for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And like you may get it's like just 1% possibility out of it, but just like enjoy.
But if
your
you do
time.
it 100 times,
right?
you'll
And then
get one.
and then all of a sudden, if you're going to these nice areas for vacations, those price points are high. If someone's going to buy in your area, their price point's going to be high. So it's like you end up like. So that's where I see a lot of my attention going towards is because I do want to travel more too. So I'm going to try to like simultaneously do these is trying to go around and get my name known with other agents in outside areas. So hopefully I get referral business.
And a lot of people because I do feel like anytime I do go out of town or something, you say I'm from Northeast Florida, they know St. Augustine, they know Amelia Island.
St. Augustine is probably blowing up more than anywhere else.
Massive.
That I've seen up here, like St. Johns County in general.
Yeah, it's massive. Between the schools and the downtown, obviously. But
where are you at in St. Augustine? Where do you live?
I'm in the south, which is like the 86 zip code, so just south of downtown.
Yeah.
So like
is that considered St. Augustine Beach?
No, not quite. St. Augustine Beach is the 32080 zip code.
Okay.
But that's like I don't even work that much 80 anymore, but it's like 86, 84, which is downtown, 95, which is just north of downtown.
Yeah.
Like the 92 and 59, like I literally like so hyper focused on like those.
Right.
What do you think about like a lot of the like flooding issues and stuff that are happening there? Like, have you do you see like a transition in some of the properties, like building up like
for sure
like protection walls and
for sure
like
that.
How is it changing like transactions that you have to do there?
I feel like people have such short-term memory loss, so it's like we don't have a hurricane for 2 years, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's cool to buy in Davis Shores again." But then, as soon as the hurricane comes through, everyone like just like these low-lying areas like Volano, Davis Shores, downtown, immediate. That those flood like crazy, and
like
then it's like 6 months that no one will buy a single house. Like no one wants to buy there,
right?
And then all of a sudden people forget about it and they move on. But everyone that like insurance is such a
how's the insurance
miserable
look so far?
Miserable.
The rates just going through the roof on some of the properties there.
Yeah, it's just because it's so monopolized. Which I talked to my insurance broker yesterday about it. I guess 4 more companies are buying into our state starting January 1st, which is huge because like everything is so condensed into just a few carriers here.
Sure.
So it's like that's why our pricing is so high. But especially those flooding areas, it's like nearly impossible to get insurance on these places. If it is, the premium is absolutely insane. So that's always something I combat. But to be honest with you, most of the time when it comes to those areas, so I say most of the time, more often than not most of the time, but the people that are buying in those areas because they're immediately around downtown, they're the more older areas. A lot of times they're looking for investment property, which most of the time I am typically not advising by any means, but I'm warning them and I guess I am advising them, but just saying, hey, you could lose 3 months of income from one flood. Like I would let's try to find something that's flood zone X, or we have something elevated where you don't have to carry flood insurance. Cause I have so many people that buy and they'll lose half a year of income in rental. And then I look like a piece of shit because I didn't warn them against that. So I'm trying
with
to
the investors that you're working with, I mean, do you see a lot of them going towards Airbnb? I know there's a lot of short-term rentals over there, but it's also very hard with
so
the
competitive
zoning and everything that's going on.
There's still people that want it. That's definitely slowed down so much from the rates just being so high, just capitalizing on that stuff is super challenging, and just getting it at market rate. Yeah, and there's so much competition. So there's not a ton of that right now. In previous years, when rates were super low and people were just trying to put their cash somewhere, it's all over the place. But I definitely when I'm talking to investors, I'm definitely defaulting to covering with long-term debt, and then we're backing into the short-term stuff. And then the night minimums is such a difference per street there.
Yeah,
so, I'm not really very versed, to be honest with you, up in Jacksonville how it is. But like in St. Augustine City itself, it's different from, as soon as you go beachside, and then it's beachside unincorporated, and then you go beachside city limits, and it's like literally
It's all different.
It's so different, and it's like a couple street spaces. So you really have to be like understanding of, and you can look it all up. It's not like it's not accessible. Like it's not. I have this like genie and information or crystal ball, but you do need to be like working with someone that understands that, because that can make or break your year, having a 7-day minimum versus the HP1 30-day minimum. Like, you're just like,
for sure,
you're screwed at that point. You can only do 12 rentals per year. So, and there's a lot of that differences as you go through town.
Are there any dailies allowed? Or
yeah, for sure.
But it's just like a very specific zoning.
Well, yeah, you got to be like RG1, RG2, residential general or commercial if you're inside of St. Augustine city limits. And then if you're outside, honestly, the honey holes, if you can find something like, there's one spot in St. Augustine Beach. There's a lot of good spots, but like right across from the amphitheater, it's county zoned.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
RS3, like you can do nightlies there. There's no restriction. Or if you get south of the Golden Mile in St. Augustine Beach, where you go into the Crescent area, there's no nightly minimums. Yeah. City of St. Augustine Beach itself only has 100 vacation rental licenses, so some people will go in and buy houses thinking they can short-term rent them. Their agent didn't know that there's only 100 licenses. There's a forever and a day year waiting list.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But that's only St. Augustine Beach city limits. Okay. So you can buy outside of the city limits, which is like the Golden Mile of St. Augustine Beach. Right. So you can buy outside of that and still do it. But then you get to the north side, which is City of St. Augustine and Davis Shores. That's a 7-day minimum unless otherwise designated. So there's like a couple condos too. Like I just sold one of my, I personally had a condo that I just sold. That was the only, it's so weird. There's three different HOAs. It's one condo complex technically. Salt Run 1, 2, and 3 different HOAs. Salt Run 2, which is my building, was RG2 zoned for some reason. So we could do nightly minimums.
One building.
One building. Yeah. But the other ones couldn't. So it was weird.
Yeah.
It was very odd. So anyways, but that can always change. So it's
and
scary.
that's stuff you'd want to know too, 100%.
For sure. Yeah. But it's scary as an investor, in my opinion. Like if the less municipalities that you can adhere to, like if you can find somewhere like county that's
yeah, absolutely.
County or unincorporated, whatever, where you don't have to like have multiple overlays to adhere to with rules, like that's less possibility of like some lobbyist that owns a hotel like coming in and telling you like to shut down your Airbnb or
that's what happened in Daytona.
Scary.
All the like the Hard Rock Hotel lobbied the city, and they're like doing away with all new short-term rentals. So
I could see that happening.
If you're grandfathered in, then you're in, but like no more.
Yeah, I could definitely see St. Augustine doing that at some point because of their
Amelia Island, kind of the same thing as St. Augustine. If you're in the county, you're good, and there are little spots on the outskirts of the island where it's county, and you can kind of get away with whatever.
See, I'm not well versed in Amelia Island.
If you're inside the city limits, I think it's the same thing, 7-day minimum.
7 day. Yeah, it's hard because I mean, obviously, that completely changes your income.
Yeah,
if you can only rent it 52 times a year. Versus
how many people are looking to rent for 7 days straight for $350 a night?
Yeah, which St. Augustine is. In this is where it gets a little bit. There's like some room for like, I don't know, just there's some ambiguity because it's a 7-day minimum, but it's just a one turn in 7 days. So you can have someone stay for 3 days, and then you just can't turn it until the next 7-day period in St. Augustine. Okay. So everyone, for the most part, does 3-day minimums, and then most of the time people stay 3 to 5 days, but then they have a couple-day turn period.
Got it.
Still, it's an absolute bitch because it limits your availability to do so. But
so your occupancy rate's like 50%.
Yeah, right. So it's tough. So if you can like get some like snowbirds to stay for a few months straight, then it definitely helps you out quite a bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, I got one. So out of all that, told us kind of about your your gym and real estate and stuff. What was like your biggest hurdle? Like to get everything going, like is there like one, like what was like the biggest, like
on both sides,
real
estate and the gym?
Well, time management was a big deal. I definitely in the first year I was like just like 5A to 8P kind of a thing, just like working so much, but like I was young and I wanted to do it, and that was like just getting everything started. But probably time management honestly is the biggest hurdle, because money wasn't that big of an issue with both of them because we're a cloud-based brokerage. It's not like we had office overhead. We're all working from afar, so there's not that overhead there. I just have my normal housing expense. And then the gym, it just covered its debt. Like I wasn't terribly concerned about making money off of it. So I was really just trying to like float the gym and make sure that did okay enough to where I didn't have to come out of pocket any. Right. And then real estate, just like try to organically grow, which luckily it did. But it was just like trying to manage covering both businesses, which if I could do, I definitely think it's cool to have like some other source of income when you start or when you're going out on your own in real estate. But if I could do it all over again, I probably wouldn't do 2 customer facing businesses like where you're like really trying to have like customer satisfaction on both. that's just really challenging to uphold when you're super tired all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
So if I could do that again, probably wouldn't do both of them, or I'd get somebody, probably have a partner up front with the gym is probably what I would have done. So I could at least delegate some of my tasks, because I did it just, I bought all the equipment up front and like, I was just like,
here we go.
We're doing it. Like, here we go. So it was just a lot.
How much do memberships go at your gym?
Which we just went up this year. So they range from the high end $200. This is just monthly recurring. So we have like a recurring model. We don't do annual contracts, but it is automatically recurring on a month-to-month basis. So $200 a month, down to our lowest is $135, but that's if you get like a family discount or military and you're like the second person. There's a lot of discounts that get you back down to it. So we try to be average around like the 150 to 155 per client that comes in per month. And we do a lot of personal training. I don't do any of that.
How often does that allow somebody to come in for, average $150 a month?
As far as like how many members we get per month?
How many times can I work out?
Oh, if you get that membership, like I know you're hosting classes all the time. They can just come every day.
The 200, like the highest tier, you can come in whenever you want for classes. Then the 3, we only have 2 options. It's just, again, I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But it works.
We have a 3 times a week plus an open gym, like that's you can come into, and then an unlimited option. The pricing is not that crazy different. It makes way more sense to just buy the unlimited. So most people do that. So most people just go and get in on that spot. We've done literally no marketing for that place. It's been all word of mouth. And we've grown. We've definitely seen actually a dip this year for sure, for the first time in a while. And I think just attributing that to everything going up in price. We're an accessory expense.
Getting really expensive.
So we are an accessory expense, and like people are going to drop their accessory expenses, especially if they're, eating to their wallets every month. So a little bit of a dip there. But again, that's something with new ownership. This guy's planning on bringing in, which again, I don't feel like personally dipping my real estate money into it. Right. I'd rather the gym just float itself. But he's going to come in and have like a fresh take, put some money into it, actually pour some money into marketing, which is going to be nice. We'll see a major difference in influx right away, especially with the county being as busy as it is.
And then you can be more hands off during the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And hopefully still get some dividends.
Yep. That's kind of the game plan. I'm still want to be a part of it to some extent because I really just enjoy being around. I think it makes just me better and healthier to be around it. But I just don't want to be the final decision maker on anything. Like that, I'm just too much. Too much of that one.
So with that being taken off your plate, what are your goals for, the future, maybe, next year and then also long-term, like 5-10 years?
Well, now that I have my broker's license,
congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But the plan initially before this lawsuit was to, start building a team underneath me, and have a lot of buyer's agency that we lead up into listing agent style, that kind of style. Not that anyone has to be specifically buyer's agents, but that's typically what they're working initially. Is to build up a team underneath me. I think I'm going to watch how this plays out a little bit. A lot of this is probably going to end up being on really falling back less on a team and just more on the individual itself. And like you being really good at being the best agent you can be personally instead of having like a bunch of people underneath you. It just depends on how the buyer co-ops go. Yeah. So I'm just still going to focus on growing myself personally. I will likely be taking over the brokerage itself. We do have another broker in place right now, but I want to grow it. Yeah. And with the current broker in place, I love him. It's not anything wrong about it, but we've always just been doing our own thing. So I would like to grow.
You're trying to scale it a little bit. Yeah.
I want to grow that side. So that's the game plan for me to take that and actually grow it. I don't know exactly what avenue I'm going to take with growing it. We'll see how that shakes out. But regardless, I want to, as far as more than likely where I think my head is going is this, I just want to have like top quality, high quality agents that are actually doing their jobs correctly in a high split style where, the brokerage itself isn't making a lot of money, but at least you're creating a good name for yourself and a good reputation locally by having the best agents you can find on your team. Right. So that's probably the approach that I'm going to take. I don't think there's probably much room moving forward for the high split brokerages, or excuse me, the low split brokerages where you're, giving agents 40-50% of their deals. Right. There's too much access to information of other brokerages that'll tell you that you can make a lot more money otherwise, and no one wants to share their money. So if you can, provide. Again, if you go with like Lamakia training, you have the training set up, you give them the agents that to succeed, set a yearly volume minimum to be on the team, make sure that they're trying to adhere to their training, and then let them kind of go. Obviously, you're there for questions and comments or whatever you may need for help, but like give them the tools, let them grow if they're newer, or go and get some really high quality people that are doing, at least 10+ million a year to come in and like basically run their own show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Be able to, close deals under their names. There's still people that don't close deals under their names with teams, which is fine.
People that don't need transaction coordinators.
Yeah. So, but I want to allow people to grow. Ideally, in my head, this is where I think I'm going with this. Is I want to allow people to have the brokerage entity. Obviously, we'll make a little bit of money. It is still a business, but allow good agents to grow their brand underneath their brokerage.
Just to kind of wrap it up, I would like you to just kind of share with everybody, what's the best way they can get in touch with you, whether it's on the real estate side or, training side, run club, whatever it is.
Sure.
If they want to get involved, how can they get in contact with Jeremy Taylor?
Well, Instagram's my biggest social, if we're going to do social. So my personal is at LiftinList, which LiftinList95. Sorry, just botched that. So obviously lifting and listing is my way of making money. So, that's where I get that from. And then my real estate page is at St. Augustine Homes. Saint is spelled out, so SAINT.
Cool.
And then at Taylor Training Systems, no spaces obviously for the gym. We're with River and Coast Property Group, so at RCPG for that one. But phone number, email, Jeremy at NEFL Properties if we're trying to hit me direct. But otherwise, I'm active on Instagram, so that's probably the easiest way for someone that doesn't know me to get to me. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much for being on today. I think that there's a lot of really, important and in-depth knowledge to take away from this, not just on the real estate side, but also on potential gym ownership and entrepreneurship in general. So thanks for coming on and kind of sharing your brain. And again, I'm Bryce, and this is Brylan. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you guys want to get in touch with us, obviously reach out to us. We'll have our information in the bio below, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.